What is going on, everybody? It's the Frost, and we're here for a Raw review the night after the horror show that was Extreme Rules. Not at Extreme Rules, but it was the horror show that was Extreme Rules. That pay-per-view was awful. But tonight we had an unsanctioned match between the Big Slow and Randy Orton in the main event. The most boring I have ever seen in an unsanctioned match in my lifetime. That match fucking sucked. What is the future for Drew McIntyre? What are they going to do about the United States Championship and the Raw Women's Championship? We will go over all that, plus a return from the missing in action in one Mustafa Ali tonight as well. And Kairi Sane took on Bayley, what is being touted as Kairi Sane's final match in WWE. So this episode of Raw, of course, was taped earlier in this day. Next week was taped earlier today as well. So apparently, Kairi Sane will be written off next week. And what I propose is going to happen, we'll talk about in a bit. But the show started off with the Monday Night Messiah, Seth Rollins and Murphy. Tom gives us a storyline update on Rey Mysterio coming out with the eye for an eye loss, noting that he's being treated at a local medical facility and looks to be retaining his vision. Basically, this entire thing, after the whole eye for an eye, which was done so if Rey Mysterio wants to leave and doesn't re-sign with them, he can go, and that's for them to write out. Which, here's the thing. If Rey Mysterio does not sign with WWE and leaves and goes to Impact or goes to AEW or goes to anywhere else, he's going to go in and he's not going to sell this thing at all. I wouldn't. Nobody would. Why the fuck would you? There are people, and I've seen independent wrestlers who are heels in one promotion, and then they go to another promotion and they're clean-cut baby faces. It happens all the time that you don't sell something from one promotion in another. So, Rey Mysterio, if he does not stay with WWE, is going to go off to AEW. 110% this guy is not going to be selling this injury. So, but if he does re-sign with WWE, this is their out to be like, well, he lost his eye, but the nerve or whatever the fucking vein, the organ is called that keeps it together, the optic nerve wasn't severed, so they were able to fix Rey Mysterio's eye. I didn't see it. They flashed it for a second, but there were people who screen capped it yesterday, and my God, a ping pong ball painted up to look like an eye was the best they could do. Wow, just wow. Rollins takes the mic as the shame chants break out. Rollins names the injury Ray suffered on Sunday. Globe luxation, whatever the fuck that means. He's going about the stipulation and having him remove Ray's eyeball from his socket to get the win. Rollins says what happened to the visual will stay with him for the rest of his life. Really, Rollins? Because I don't think that's going to stay with anybody. Again, it was a ping pong ball dressed up to look like a eye. That's all it was. It was pathetic. It was sad. And this thing is going to be forgotten by the end of the week. The shame chants can start back up, and Rollins says this is affecting him as well. The image will stay with him for his memory forever. It was disgusting, violent, and barbaric. More than he expected, it made him sick to his stomach, figuratively and literally, because Vince McMahon loves his puke. Rollins has been asked if he regrets what happened. He doesn't mean to be obtuse, but he has to answer a question with a question. Does the WWE Universe regret what they've done to him? The crowd boos. Rollins goes on about how this wasn't his decision. The universe made him into what he is. Really? A guy who went online into interviews all year last year and bashed the fans and took us to task because we weren't happy with how they were booking him. We turned him into what he is. The delusional person that he is. Give me a break. He goes on and says we can't dwell into the past. The beauty of this is now that Ray is out of sight and Raw is free to fulfill its potential. The greater good of the show will happen, and there's nobody left to stand in the way of the greater good, and out comes Mr. Aleister Black. which it was announced that these guys are going to be having a match tonight. So, of course, Aleister Black would come out. Black speaks for the stage and says, Rollins orchestrated all of this. This is all in your hands. Black is here to rectify all of this. He drops the mic and walks to the ring, but Buddy Murphy gets in the way. Black drops him on the ramp. He gets in the ring, but Murphy pulls Black back out, and they brawl at ringside. As Rollins looks on, Black unloads and sends Murphy into the plexiglass barrier several times. Black destroys Murphy and launches him over the announce table for another pop. Black hits the ring, and Rollins retreats to the floor. They stare each other down, and we go to commercial break, and that's the match. That was the first match of this episode. Now, I'm going to get into it a little bit more later, but this was, in my opinion, not the best way to start Monday Night Raw. That match sucked. That finish sucked. That wasn't the big controversy for Monday Night Raw last night at the pay-per-view. That was the Sasha Banks Asuka match. I would have had the Bayley Sasha Banks promo, which they had later in the show, appear here and had everything set up that's supposed to be happening next week this week. But we'll talk about that here in a minute. So these guys have themselves a match. It was a pretty decent match. Seth Rollins ends up beating Aleister Black. Why? But during the match, Aleister Black's arm is getting worked on. And Black comes back for a kick to the face. They tangle some more. Rollins drops Black with his hurt arm. He follows up with the stop. 1, 2, 3, and he gets the win. Seth Rollins wins. After the match, it's like, you can sit there and look at this and go, good match, not bad, but it's like, what was the point of it? And then, after the match, Murphy and Rollins go back in. They start beating up on Aleister Black. Fans are booing as they exit the room after they throw him out and get him into the outside. Rollins orders Murphy to hit him and attack him. Black while he's down. Black gets double teamed and more boos continue. They bring back him to the floor again. Launch him into the barrier a few times. Rollins taunts Black now as Murphy holds him next to the ring post. Rollins yells in his face and continues to focus on the arm, using the ring post on the apron. Black is down on the ground in pain. Rollins tries to intimidate the announcers now. He slams Black's arm into the top of the announce table several times, then takes the top of the announce table and drops it onto Black's arm. He taunts him. He taunts the crowd some more while Murphy holds Black down with his injured arm on top of the announce table. Rollins taunts Black and asks him where his friends are now. Who's here to save you? Because Humberto Carrillo obviously must be one of the guys who has either been exposed or tested positive for coronavirus, because he went from being around to just not being there anymore. And this is something that WWE needs to get out of the way. Apparently, obviously, the coronavirus doesn't exist in WWE continuity, because Apollo Crews is still injured from a full Nelson from a month ago. Humberto Carrillo, MIA. Manuel Sonya Deville and Otis and Tucker, MIA. These are just people. Carmella, I don't think has been on TV. MIA. Where are all these talents? Why have we not heard? Well, and why are we making excuses why this talent is not here? But Rollins then takes the hand and stomps on it. You hear Aleister Black screaming in massive pain while he just shows his hand off and everything. And they walk away as more referees come over to try and keep Rollins and Murphy away from Black. So the only thing I can think of why they did this and not have like a Kevin Owens come out or somebody come out to help Aleister Black is that Aleister Black has some kind of injury or some kind of whatever they need to have him. He needs time off. So that is why we are getting this attack that happened tonight. I don't have any other reason why you would have Aleister Black, just for the hell of it, getting attacked. So, let's see. Tom Phillips shows us how MVP declared himself the new United States Champion in Extreme Rules last night by forfeit, as Apollo Crews was unable to make it because of quote-unquote injury, or aka, he's got the Rona. He's got the Rona. Tom confirms that Cruz is still the champion, but we cut backstage to Hall of Famer Ron Simmons with MVP, and Lashley says he knows they're going to do things their way, but he wants them to know that there is a better way. They fist bump, he leaves, and they show respect to Simmons. R-Truth appears now. He tells MVP that he's nice-looking replica title belt from around his wife. MVP's like, no, man, this is legit. This is the real deal. MVP asks Truth if he wants to go to the ring with if you want the 24/7 champion to come to the ring with us, and he's like, of course not. I don't want to be putting the that Nelson from Simpsons, which he's making fun of the full Nelson, and MVP's like, well, I meant the new 24/7 champion. The referee shows up behind Lashley. Then all of a sudden, behind R-Truth is Shelton Benjamin with a boot to the face. He pins him 1, 2, 3. And for the first time in 14 years, Shelton Benjamin has a championship. A championship. And it's the 24/7 championship. Good grief. This is annoying. This is just so effing stupid. This is so freaking stupid. Well, it looks like we have ourselves another 3-man group in WWE known as the Hurt Business. Here's my thing about this. They need to, if they're going to have this thing be a group, they need a young guy. MVP has been around the back since the early 2000s. Shelton Benjamin made his debut in 2002. Bobby Lashley, I think, made his debut in either 2006 or 2007. That's over 10, 15 years ago. It's time to, about 12, 13, 15 years ago for everybody. They need to, pick somebody from NXT. I thought, and I put this out on Twitter, Dominik Dijakovic, who is rumored to be coming up to Monday Night Raw after he gets killed by Karrion Kross on Wednesday. What if Dominik Dijakovic is that guy to learn under the tutelage of an MVP, a Lashley, a Shelton Benjamin, gets the tools to become that next big star, and he could be the one, when it's all said and done, to break this group up and take out all 3 men, if more, when it comes time for that. Another thing, the Hurt Business, that's the best you could come up with. Now, I understand that Anthem probably owns the rights and the word, the Beatdown Clan. The BDC. Not the BDK, the BDC. Beatdown Clan. Well, why not just go with the Beatdown Crew? That would be at least better than the Hurt Business. The Hurt Business sounds absolutely fucking stupid. So, that is who we have right now. Let me know what you think about the Hurt Business having a 3rd man in Shelton Benjamin. Now, a plus, if they were to add a young talent, not somebody who's been in the WWE or been on the main roster for the last 4 or 5 years or 6 years plus. I mean, somebody who's been in NXT and could use the tutelage of these guys. Hell, even Austin Theory, instead of him being part of the Messiah group, he could be the youngling of the Hurt Business and be built up as a member and be the one to eventually become a big star. I think Dijakovic could be that guy. I want to know what you think down below. Back for breaking out comes the 24/7 champion, MVP, and Bobby Lashley. MVP is still in possession of the new United States Championship belt, which I feel like they're going to go down the Razor Ramon Shawn Michaels WrestleMania SummerSlam to 1990. What was it? 95? 95 or 96? Whatever one. No, 95. It had to be 95. Yeah, 95. When they had the ladder match that was Shawn Michaels was what is it? Not WrestleMania 10. Not SummerSlam. WrestleMania 10. When Shawn Michaels was suspended, he was Intercontinental Champion. He got stripped of it, but he still held on to the belt. So WWF at the time had to commission a new belt
and a new champion, and that ended up being Razor Ramon. Shawn Michaels eventually comes back, and they have I'm the real champion, no, I'm the real champion, squabble back and forth, to what eventually led to the match at WrestleMania, the first ever ladder match, official ladder match in WWE, even though it wasn't the first one, the first official, if you can say so. And so they had that ladder match for the titles, and of course Razor Ramon won the titles. I could see them doing this if they're able to, where Apollo has the old United States Championship, MVP has the new United States Championship, and they build it to SummerSlam where MVP has his gold, Apollo has his gold, both get put on the line, and the winner is the true United States Champion. Would it be a ladder match? I wouldn't mind that. That would be just fine. And then we go from there. So that would be what they go with that. MVP talks about the horror show at Extreme Rules. It says he didn't even break a sweat becoming the new United States Champion. Tom Phillips does confirm that Cruz is still the champion. The crowd boos. MVP mocks Cruz for staying home and nursing his wounds instead of being the fighting champion he said he'd be. He mentioned how Cruz was injured in the recent Full Nelson attack by Bobby Lashley, which was like a month ago. A month ago. But that's what you get. MVP goes on about how he would beat up Ricochet and Cedric Alexander tonight, the two hard-headed kids who don't listen. Then they're going to celebrate the new goal. The music interrupts, and out comes Cedric Alexander and Ricochet. Cedric runs down MVP and says he was relevant. He was relevant back in 2006. They go on about MVP and his crew being pathetic and a bunch of chumps. Cedric says they have been champions in WWE before, and they will become again. Yeah, maybe in about 10, 15 years. I don't know about that, but that's probably what you're going to have. MVP says he sees the Hurt Business when he looks at the trio in the ring, but he sees little kids who should be in catering, like when he looks at Cedric Alexander and Ricochet, which he discussed apparently with Cedric. Let's see. Cruz didn't show up to help him out, which allows him to pick any combination to face in the tag team action. Cedric says, hold on now. We may not have Apollo Crews, and Apollo Crews might be, off doing whatever and recovering from his injury / corona. But they do have a friend. They do have somebody who's making his return, and that person is Mustafa Ali. Now, as we know, Mustafa Ali has not been seen in months. Mustafa Ali hasn't been seen since February, when we actually were still seeing crowds, when we didn't have this coronavirus bullshit, which is not as bad as they make it out to be, but that is not the point here. We did not have, and then we had, of course, the SmackDown hacker. The SmackDown vigilante hacker who helped expose Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville's, Sonya Deville and Dolph Ziggler's ruse to screw over Otis and keep Mandy Rose under his thumb. And for a couple weeks, we got a couple more, teases. But then it disappeared. And that was supposed to be Mustafa Ali. Mustafa Ali did not ever we never got the idea of who's going to be the SmackDown hacker, and they kind of dropped it. Probably with everything that's going on, all the bullshit we're dealing with, they probably didn't find it appropriate for now. They moved him over to Raw about a month and a half ago. Then apparently they were supposed to be moving him back to SmackDown. Now, as Lashley decides he wants to go after these guys, he's pissed off that they even think that they have a chance against the Hurt Business, as they want to call them. He decides to charge as Mustafa Ali makes his entrance. That does not go his way. Cedric and Ricochet fight him off. They head the ring and next and send MVP and Shelton retreating. Lashley looks on from the ramp. Ali, Cedric, and Ricochet pose in the ring, telling the others to bring it, and we go to commercial break. So we have that 6-man tag team match. It's actually the first time in a while we actually had a tag team match that wasn't the same, but hey, Now, back from break and with 6-man action is underway, Lashley and Ricochet go at it. Cedric Alexander tags in. Lashley gets the upper hand. Lashley levels Cedric and takes him to the corner. Lashley tags in the 24/7 champion.
Shelton Benjamin for the double team in the corner. Shelton works Cedric over in the 2 count. MVP tags in and beats Cedric down in the corner. MVP with a suplex on Cedric. MVP keeps Cedric down and tries for a couple pin attempts. The crowd rallies Cedric as he tries to turn it around, but MVP clubs him and drives him into the mat for another 2 count. MVP brings it to the corner and Shelton tags in for a quick double team. Shelton levels Cedric with a running clothesline. Shelton leaves Cedric again for another pin attempt. The crowd tries to rally now. Lashley comes back in for a long suplex to Cedric. Lashley stalks Cedric and hits a big spear in the corner. MVP tags in and hits the running big boot in the corner. Cedric goes down and MVP stands over him, taunting him for the booze, hits the balling elbow drop, but Cedric kicks out at 2. He mounts him with a couple strikes, showing frustration. Finally, Ali gets tagged in, keeping Benjamin down. The heels roll to the floor for a breather as Ali and his crew look from the ring, and we go to commercial break. As we get to the end of this match, though, Ali returns to the ring, but MVP hits him with a knee to the gut. MVP unloads in the corner, and then he goes for the running boot. And Ali with a big, and he misses. So what happens then? Ali sees this, hits the running neck breaker, gets up top, hits the 450, 1, 2, 3. That was it. Game over. Match over. My problem with this is it's great to see Mustafa Ali back. It's great to see Mustafa Ali get the win. Here's the problem with this. Yes, Mustafa Ali made his return. He should have won whatever match he was going to have. But why would you have him go up against this faction that you're just trying to promote as a big deal? These guys, all 3 formed as a group, and maybe adding more later. Like I said, they should possibly add to their group Diamond Dijakovic or somebody young. Why would you have them lose? Cedric Alexander and Ricochet could both take a loss in this after having a stellar match, having a fantastic match. They could take the loss as long as it wasn't going to be Mustafa Ali. Why would you not? I understand what they wanted to do to get Mustafa Ali over, but why would you bring him back in a match with a group that just formed as a 3-man group? Don't you want to give these guys some momentum? I mean, hell, Austin Theory, Angel Garza, and Andrade got at least 2 weeks of looking strong and dominant right after WrestleMania, was it not? Before they started falling apart for whatever fucking reason. I still don't understand why they went from being this team that looked like they were going to be a force to be reckoned with to what the hell? Why the hell are we tagging together? We don't like each other. That shit made no sense to me. So, let's see here. We get a hype for the Unsanctioned match. Randy Orton is backstage. He talks about some of the big moments from his career. But the one he always sees is when he shuts his eyes to the recent chair shot to Edge. While he was down, Orton goes on about how he's been close to people like Edge, Christian, The Big Show, but now he's getting satisfaction from hurting them. He goes on and says he will punt kick Show in the skull tonight, and he will immensely enjoy ending Show's career once and for all. And we go to a commercial break. Back from break, and we see Hall of Famer Ron Simmons walking backstage with the Viking Raiders. Tom leads us to a video package on Big Show's career, which, by the way, what was the point? I don't get this. What was the point of having Ron Simmons talking to MVP and Lashley and then the Viking Raiders? What was the point of that? It didn't factor into anything when it came to... I mean, yes, the Viking Raiders come take part in some stuff later on, but what was the point of this? It's one thing to have him there to build up confidence with somebody, but it's like we missed whatever the hell he was talking to with MVP and them, and the only thing we hear is this guy, like, I know what you guys are going to do, but there's a better way of doing it. And then he's talking to the Viking Raiders and we don't hear anything. What was the point of this? You brought Ron Simmons in, who probably isn't there on a weekly basis, to do what exactly? This one made no sense to me. At all. And then, after all this, we get a video package of the Big Show's career. Because of all people on this roster right now who needs to be reminded of their career, is The Big Show, who's been around for 25 years and is all documented on the WWE Network, his WCW and WWF/WWE career. So instead of, working to build up younger talent, giving more time to younger talent, let's spend about 5 minutes of a 3-hour show doing this for The Big Show, and then having a 20-minute match, like a 15-20-minute unsanctioned match between The Big Show and Randy Orton, all because the fucking ratings are in the shitter. This company will never learn at all. The announcer is joined by a somber Christian now via satellite. Joe asked him how he's doing since the recent unsanctioned match, which, if you really want to call that a match, Christian knew what he was getting himself into, but he wasn't expecting what happened and how Ric Flair was weaponized. It doesn't get any lower than that, and he will never look at Orton or Flair the same again. I mean, come on, Christian. Randy Orton? Ric Flair known as the dirtiest player in the game? You couldn't figure out that, hey, Ric Flair's here, not for my well-being, he's gonna fuck me over. It's like, you seriously, you say you're a fan. You're a fan. You grew up on Ric Flair. And you didn't see the low blow coming. Come on, Christian. Nobody in their right mind would believe that statement from you. Give me a fucking break, dude. Let's see. And he's not sure if he'll ever be the same again. He goes on about Big Show's match tonight, and he and Orton did last month in their match. Christian doesn't feel good at all, but he's good through. He'd go through it again if it meant making Orton pay. Christian can't watch the Big Show destroy Orton later tonight. Yeah, right. Sarah Shiva was backstage with Bianca Belair, but she asked about teaming with Ruby Riott to defeat the Moronics last week. Belair brags about how good she is, the fastest, strongest. I can't even go into that promo. She does it so well, I just can't go into it. Belair brags about how good she is and says her rise to the top of the business will be the quickest. She just wanted to show out last week. She goes on about Peyton Royce. Not Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, just Peyton Royce. Interrupts, dismisses Schreiber, and calls Belair the dumbest of all time. So, Billie Kay was not there this week at all. Don't know why. Maybe she didn't want to be, maybe she wasn't feeling comfortable. Maybe she got exposed to somebody with coronavirus. Maybe she has it herself. We don't know, because WWE lives in their own bubble. You know how the NBA is in Florida and at Disneyland with their bubble where you can't leave if you're there because they want to try and stop the spread of coronavirus, which probably isn't going to happen. But that is the NBA's bubble, but they still live in a reality that people can understand. WWE lives in their own reality where the coronavirus doesn't exist. And the coronavirus is something that, yes, it's not as bad as everyone thought it was going to be. The mortality rate is not as bad as they predicted. But still, it's a thing. It's going to be there for the rest of our lives. It's been there forever. It's just, what do you want to say? It's just it's just an advanced form of the flu/common cold, because the testing that is getting done is from the CDC. If you got tested positive for coronavirus, it might not be COVID-19. It could possibly be antibodies from having the common fucking cold. It's on their website. Go look it up. But anyway, so WWE doesn't have any explanation why Billie Kay's not there. Do I care that Billie Kay's not there? No, because they bring the show down. Peyton Royce could have stayed away too. That's the thing with there's Peyton Royce being married to Shawn Spears. If she was to disappear, you'd go, whoa, wait a minute. Maybe that means Shawn Spears could possibly, because even though Shawn Spears really isn't doing anything but wrestling on Dark right now, it's just WWE and their carelessness has compromised at one time or another, not just their company, but the other wrestling company on Wednesday nights. See, with how poorly WWE has handled this entire show, I forgot to mention this at the beginning, this entire show was ripped up, torn up, thrown away, minus of course the unsanctioned match. Everything else was ripped up and thrown out because, one, a lot of the people who were supposed to be on this show could not make it because of coronavirus, probably not wanting to be there, and so on and so forth. Secondly, because of what happened last night with the horror show at Extreme Rules, And third, because it probably fucking sucked. But that's neither here nor there. So, Peyton Royce goes on with her insults, but Ruby Riott appears and taunts Royce for Billie Kay not being there. Royce says Kay is off handling their business and it's none yours. They continue having words and Royce calls Liv trash. Riott takes offense to this, even though earlier this year, Ruby Riott returned from injury when we had crowds still and beat the piss out of Liv Morgan. All of a sudden, she wants to be best friends with Liv Morgan. She wants to be friends again with Liv Morgan. What the fuck is this? I know Liv Morgan can't be there. She probably has coronavirus too. She'll be fine. She'll be back in no time. But I really want to know what their justification of this and why she had this sudden change of heart. I just don't get it. I don't. And she called Liv Morgan trash, and Ruby Riott took major offense to that. She threatens Royce if she brings up Liv's name one more time. Belair with the more trash-talking, mocking Royce in her face. Belair tells her, we got this, and gets Ruby Riott to move off as they leave, Peyton Royce fuming. Peyton Royce versus Ruby Riott, do we really care about this match? Like, seriously. Love Ruby, love what she's doing, love her how good she is in the ring, but you have a match with one of the Moronics or both the Moronics, you might as well just say, forget it. These two can't wrestle out of... Peyton Royce and Billie Kay couldn't wrestle themselves out of a wet paper bag. The fact that they were even given TV time is beyond me. Now, here's the thing. If Billie Kay would have been here tonight, and Bianca Belair is here, and Ruby Riott was here too, I guarantee you we would have had a rematch from last week. 110%. Why? Because it would have been like, oh, well, we didn't expect you to have a friend, so you caught us by surprise, and we weren't prepared for Bianca Belair, so we want a rematch. I guarantee you that's what they would have went with. If Billie Kay was here, with Bianca Belair being there, with Ruby Riott being there, which, by the way, Ruby Riott did not come out with Bianca Belair did not come out with Ruby Riott, so, yeah. Back for break, and Peyton Royce is out by herself. Ruby Riott is out also by herself. Match that didn't go very long. Riott turns back around and charges, but Royce turns around and charges, but Riott follows her up with a big Riott kick for the pin and the win. Who gives a shit? Peyton Royce can't wrestle worth shit. After the match, Riott's tall. Her music hits. We go to replay. Royce is down the outside as Riott celebrates in the ring, getting emotional because she's finally won another match. By the way, last week was her first win since February of last year. That was a singles match. So this, if I'm correct, that was a singles match. This was her first singles match since February 2019. Can you believe that? Yes, I know she was injured for the majority of 2019, coming into 2020. But she made her return, lost to Liv Morgan, lost to the Moronic one, lost to Moronic number 2, finally got a win last week with Bianca Belair, finally got a singles match win this week. I too would be emotional because it's like I've been doing this for years. I've been doing all of this, and the last whatever it is, like last 16 months or so, she hasn't had much luck at all. I mean, yes, gone, double shoulder surgery, which fucking sucks, I'm sure. I'm probably going to need that sometime in my life. But to come back and lose to finally win in a tag team match with Bianca Belair and then finally get a singles victory this week. Hopefully they have something planned for Ruby Riott and it's not just a little bit here and a little bit there. Give these women a chance. As we see recent happens between Andrade and Angel Garza, Charlie Caruso stops Garza, Andrade, and Zelina Vega backstage about getting on the same page for the night's non-title match. Vega interrupts and talks about the Raw Tag Team Champions, the Street Profits, and possibly not showing up. Andrade also comments on winning tonight to get one step closer to becoming the champions. Garza talks to Charlie about always being ready when the Street Profits, out of nowhere, attack and beat the hell out of them. They beat up Garza and Andrade down while talking trash, and they retreat. Vega checks on Garza and Andrade, encouraging them as we go to commercial break. We come back from break, and we have this tag team match. So, my mentality was going into this is like, well, the Profits didn't have a title match last night. WWE's definitely gonna want to make SummerSlam a 3-4 hour event because it is SummerSlam, and I'm sure we'll have 2 or 3 cinematic matches to stretch out that time. They definitely probably want to get the tag team titles on the line. So what is WWE going to do? What they always do. Again, this is my mentality before this match happened. What do they usually do? They usually go and give you a champion versus challenger, a non-title match. And then the challengers who are going to be the challengers at the pay-per-view or the next week or whatever, come out there and win the match. That did not happen tonight. Somehow, someway, the Street Profits won a non-title match on TV. Shocking! Champions that don't lose? What the hell is this concept? Holy shit! Holy shit! This was a good match. These 4 guys went out there and just rocked it. I'm not like Monday Night Raw on the whole usually sucks, and Monday Night Raw tonight sucked minus this match. And Kairi Sane and Bayley, in my opinion, was a good match. We'll get to that in a bit. Now, the match comes to an end as Dawkins drops Andrade with a bulldog for a 2 count. Garza makes the save. Dawkins ends up with Andrade on his shoulders. As Ford goes to the top, this backfires as Dawkins accidentally crotches Ford on the top. Garza runs in, gets the upper hand for the team. Garza climbs up for the top, but Ford ends up knocking him onto the mat. Ford follows up with the huge frog splash that he has for the pin in the win. Vega is outside on the outside, shocked that her team lost, as this, of course, would have given them one step closer to getting a title match. After the match, the Profits stand tall as the music hits. We go to replays of the frog splash. Vega screams, and the ringside as Dawkins and Ford celebrate. Taking the titles, red cups to the announce table. Vega, Garza, and Andrade look on from the ramp, disgusted. So, what is going to happen now? We have 3 tag teams in this division. The Street Profits, the Viking Raiders, and the team of Garza and Andrade. So what the heck is going to happen next? How are we going to get to the next point? Who's going to challenge? Is it going to be a triple threat match? WWE Raw needs a lot of work, and I mean a lot of work. And the tag team division is definitely one of those things. The women's division, of course. But they have women in that division. They're just too lazy to use them. Shayna Baszler made an appearance later. We'll talk about that as well and what I think is going to happen with her soon. But the tag team division, you can't just have 3 tag teams. I know the AOP are out because of injury to, I believe, Akam. But you need to do something. You have Cedric Alexander and Ricochet who want to call themselves the 2-Fly Crew and go out there and be a tag team. Put them in the tag team division. Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley could be the tag team division, the tag team for the Big Hurt or the BDC. Okay, I'm just calling them the Beatdown Crew because that sounds much better than the Hurt Business. I fucking hate that name. WWE needs at least 4 or 5, like 3 or 4 more tag teams. 6 tag teams in a division for Monday Night Raw would be excellent. You could have feuds going. It's just WWE, I know, and everyone else knows, does not care about tag team wrestling. Why would they care about tag team wrestling? Vince McMahon doesn't see any money in tag team wrestling. And that's why Monday Night Raw has 3 teams. That's why SmackDown has like 2 teams right now that are available. We go to a video package of the Women's Tag Team Champion Sasha Banks and Raw Women's Champion Asuka from the horror show that was Extreme Rules. Still to come, Banks' partner SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley will face off against Kairi Sane for some reason. We hear from Banks and Bayley with an update on what happened on last night's controversial match ending. Back from break, and Andrade is talking with Angel Garza. They're like going back and forth. Vega walks in and she's like, "What the hell was that? What happened?" That was our chance to move forward, to step one step closer to the tag team championships. And she says, now as usual, she has to go and fix everything. Andrade and Garza are frustrated with the loss, but not each other. They insist they're on the same page, and Vega says, prove it. Prove that you are on the same page, because everyone is talking and saying that you guys are not, and all of this is just not working. We go to the ring and out come the women's tag team champions, the SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley and Sasha Banks, the false Raw Women's Champion. She is not the Raw Women's Champion. We go to the ring, out they come. Banks is in the possession of Asuka's Women's Championship. Mike Rome refers to her as a champion, but only the women's tag team champions, not the Raw champion. Tom confirms that Asuka is the women's champion. They get booed. Bayley tells them to show some respect for the new Raw Women's Champion. Banks interrupts and says she got this. She says people are accusing her of stealing the Raw Women's title, but she fought for the title last night on Extreme Rules, unlike her opponent, who was just handed the title by Becky Lynch in May. No, she was not, and I get sick and fucking tired of this little argument. Oh, she was handed the championship. Asuka went through a Money in the Bank ladder match at Titan Towers and won that match not knowing the title belt was in the briefcase. She didn't get handed the championship. Was it the way they should have handled it? Hell no. They could have did something completely different, allowing Asuka to be Miss Money in the Bank, or, I don't know, having somebody from SmackDown winning the Money in the Bank, which, by the way, we have a men's Money in the Bank briefcase holder right now who can't even be on TV, probably because of coronavirus. I'm just saying. Banks goes on about how Bayley the only reason she's the champion and she was handed the championship is because Becky Lynch went on maternity leave. Again, she won the Money in the Bank ladder match the night before, and it was in the briefcase. She wasn't notified until the show. Just saying. Bayley talks about how she had to do the right thing and make the count in Extreme Rules. She says she's not just a role model. She's not just a champion. She's your role model. She's Bayley Dostraps. Bayley is repeating herself again. Banks goes on to brag about and calls herself a 2 belts Banks. They brag about more about having all the gold, jumping around and celebrating, saying each other's names. Out come Kairi Sane and Asuka. Asuka without her championship. Asuka yells in stage in Japanese and says Banks has her title. Banks tells her to come and get it. They go to march to the ring when all of a sudden Stephanie McMahon shows up on the Titantron. Stephanie McMahon is like, well, Banks, Bayley, congratulations. Congratulations, you two, on being the tag team champions. Congratulations, Bayley, on successfully retaining your SmackDown Women's Championship. But Banks, as far as the Raw Women's Championship goes, you did not win that match last night. But neither did you, Asuka. So basically what they're saying right here, right now, is that the Raw Women's Championship is vacant. But if Asuka wins next week, which I figure she's going to, which is where we're getting at right now, she will still be a Raw Women's Champion, and then it will still continue her title reign. But Stephanie did say that, so next week, we're going to have a match. Next week, it's going to be Sasha Banks versus Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. If anybody interferes, Kairi Sane, Bayley, Shayna Baszler, Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, anybody interferes on the behalf of one of these women, the other woman will be your Raw Women's Champion. Pinfall, it has to be pinfall, submission, you cannot be disqualified, you cannot be counted out because you will be lost. The title belt will go to the winner, will go to the one who wins the match. So this is why we got the train wreck that was known as that finish last night. That finish, according to Dave Meltzer, was done last minute. It was changed last minute. So WWE could get a ratings pop. They didn't do it tonight. If they wanted to do it tonight, they could have did the right thing and had... The only reason they're having this match next week, and we'll get to what else they're having next week, because WWE is so desperate for ratings, because their ratings are in the shitter. The reason that they're doing this match next week and not be the main event this week, which is what they should have done, is because they have to put Randy Orton versus The Big Slow on our TV tonight. That's the only reason. So, let's see. So they finally get to the ring. And then Kairi Sane, as we come back, we go to break, we come back, and it's Kairi Sane versus Bayley. Now, this is supposed to be Kairi Sane's last match. Apparently, because, like I said, Raw this week and Raw next week would tape tonight, as they do when they have their tapings. They do 2 episodes of Raw, 2 episodes of SmackDown will be done tomorrow, then Wednesday be 2 episodes of NXT. Why they can't decide to do 3 episodes of Raw, 3 episodes. Here's an idea. SummerSlam is on August 23rd. Here's a great idea. Tape everything for the next 4 weeks. 4 or 5 weeks. Tape every episode of Raw, every episode of SmackDown, every episode of NXT this week. Giving your talent the next 4 weeks off. So that they could do the quarantine thing. They can spend time with their families. They don't have to be away. Because if you're supposed to quarantine for 2 weeks, and you come in, you do your stuff this week, you have next week off, you only quarantine really for a week and a half, then if anybody who has a family, like Seth Rollins really can't spend any time with Becky Lynch because she's pregnant and he's still working on this, he's still working Monday Night Raws every single week. So he really can't spend time with his pregnant fiance, who, by the way, they would have been married if it wasn't for COVID-19. I'm just saying. But I don't know. I would not have any idea what it feels like to be in their shoes, because he has to be stuck where he's at, working every other week, which really isn't 2 weeks of quarantine time. So instead of going like, well, we have about a month we could tape this week. So you tape 2 episodes of Raw tonight. Tomorrow tape the rest of Raw going into SummerSlam. Wednesday you tape all of NXT. Thursday and Friday you tape all of SmackDown going into the week. And then Saturday you could tape TakeOver too if you want to. Why the fuck not? And then SummerSlam, if you want to tape SummerSlam, you tape SummerSlam. If you want SummerSlam to be live, you make it live. Doesn't fucking matter to me. And then you give your talent a month off, practically. A month and a couple days off, really. But WWE ain't going to do that. They'll be back one more time in about 2 weeks. Fucking dumb. Bayley and Sasha Banks. Kairi Sane versus Bayley. Now, this was a good match. This is supposed to be Kairi Sane's final match. Now, next week, like I said, they're going to have the Women's Championship match. Of course, Bayley and Kairi Sane will probably be out there. I'm surprised Stephanie didn't say everybody's banned from ringside, but they have to. They're apparently, supposedly, writing Kairi Sane off next week. We'll get to that in a minute. Sane mounts offense for an early pin attempt. Bayley drops Sane and starts talking trash. Sane comes back and drop kicks Bayley to the floor. Sane with a hip attack while Bayley is on the apron, which goes up, gets a pop from Asuka. Sane follows to the floor and brings Bayley back in for a 2 count. Bayley ends up turning it around in the corner and dropping Sane face to face first into the turnbuckle. Bayley beats Sane around as Banks cheers her on. Bayley with a quick 1 count. The crowd tries to rally Sane now as Bayley has her grounded in the middle of the ring. Sane fights up and out, hitting a crossbody in the middle of the ring for a 2 count. Bayley counters and mounts Sane with strikes. Bayley with another quick pin attempt. Bayley with a suplex for a 2 count. More back and forth between these two now. Sane overpowers and blocks a suplex. Sane with an axe kick. Sane goes to the top and hits a big flying splash where Bayley has hung up on the ropes. Bayley ends up regrouping with Banks on the outside as we go to commercial break. Now, as we get towards the end of this match, though, Sane goes to the top and hits the insane elbow. Sane clutches her arm after landing hard. She slowly makes the cover, but Bayley gets her foot on the bottom rope. That's how you stop. That's how you, quote-unquote, kick out of somebody's finisher. You don't physically kick out. If you don't want somebody's finisher to be the end of the match, do it near the rope so they can get their foot, hand, or whatever on the rope to stop the pinfall. It's that fucking simple. Bayley ends up hitting the Bayley to belly in the middle of the ring. Bayley goes to the top, hits a flying elbow off of her own. Bayley covers, but Sane kicks out at 2. Again, like I said, not smart. That should be the be-all end-all for a match. I'm sorry. Asuka cheers Sane on at the ringside. Bayley goes up for the Bayley to belly suplex, but Sane, and I love this finish.
Bayley has her in, goes for the Bayley to Bella. As she lifts her up, Kairi Sane swivels her hips around, rolls her around, gets the 1, 2, 3, and she pins the SmackDown Women's Champion. Now, usually you would be pissed off. I would be too. Anyone is like, why is a champion losing on TV? Why? But this supposedly is her last match. She is supposedly leaving. This was her last set of tapings. She's going back to Japan to be with her husband, and this will be the last we see of Kairi Sane. I don't know if she's going to end up going to Stardom, or if she's going to still have some kind of connection with the WWE family. Not a clue. But this was a hell of a match. If this is her final match, then I have no problem with it. Usually, like I said, I would be pissed off, but after the match, the crowd pops big for Sane as Asuka joins her in the ring to celebrate. The two women, Asuka and Kairi Sane, go to the ramp as we go to replays. They look on at Banks and Bayley in the ring as they regroup, as they leave happily. Sarah Schreiber approaches Drew McIntyre backstage and asks how he's feeling after his brutal win over Dolph Ziggler. He admits he would be in pain. He'd be a filthy liar if he said otherwise. He says he's still WWE champion, so that's good. He's headed to the ring right now to discuss his future, walks off, and we go to commercial break. We get our guest for Raw Talk, Mustafa Ali, Seth Rollins, and Shayna Baszler. Who gives a shit? Because I really don't. We go back to the ring, and out comes WWE champion Drew McIntyre. Drew takes a shot at Ziggler and says his Extreme Rules stipulation wasn't brilliant, but that's over, as Ziggler's career is. He goes on and says it's onward and upward for him, says the next big event is WWE SummerSlam, and he wants a worthy opponent, and of course, out comes Dolph Ziggler because he can't be ignored. He doesn't want to be ignored. He wants another shot at the WWE Championship, and of course, Drew McIntyre tells him no. You had your chance. I beat you last night, fair and square. You had the stipulations. Everything was stacked in your corner. You had the upper hand, and you still lost. He's like, you know what? Before you embarrass yourself, I'm going to leave. He goes to leave, and Ziggler stops him. He ends up eating a Glasgow kiss, and McIntyre goes to leave. Now, Ziggler grabs the mic and says, don't you walk away from me, you son of a bitch. I know I could beat you. I know, blah, 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 blah. And then he says, I want one more match. You can pick the stipulation, time, place, I don't care. I want the match. I want one more title match. And McIntyre's like, well, you changed my mind. I get to pick the stipulation. I accept. He goes to leave, and Ziggler's like, wait a minute. What's the stipulation? And Drew McIntyre's like, well, you did this to me, so I'm going to do it to you. And I'm not going to tell you the stipulation until the bell rings. So, yeah. Let me get adjusted here. Let me see. So, yes, and he goes to leave. Ziggler's, of course, not happy about that, and that is going to happen next week. Next week, we get Asuka versus Sasha Banks. That should be a main event, but it's not because you have Drew McIntyre versus Dolph Ziggler. The winner becomes the WWE champion, and of course Drew McIntyre picks the stipulations. Please don't go, well, you did this to me, so I'm going to do it to you. It's Extreme Rules for me, but you have to have a conventional match, and then he goes out there and kills Dolph Ziggler. They did not need to have Drew McIntyre on TV this week. You had the unsanctioned match between Big Show and Randy Orton. You had all the stuff that was going on. We did not need this segment with Drew McIntyre. He could miss a week. He could literally not be here this week, and we would have been fine. Until you had a definitive opponent for him at SummerSlam, keep him off television. Big Show is backstage talking about tonight's unsanctioned match. He talks about what Christian had done to Edge and Christian. What Orton has done to Edge and Christian. How he's lashing out at everyone who tried to help him. A boring show goes on. Yeah, a very boring show. This was so boring. And on with it saying how much, without saying much, he says this might be the end of his line for him, but he's going to do everything he can to make sure Orton doesn't write the end of his story. This has to be, yes, this has to be the worst TV show on right now. I mean, give me a fucking break. The whole entire promo was story time with The Big Show and talking about Randy Orton's career and how they've known each other for all this time. And I'm sitting here going, oh shit, my bad. Yeah, that's exactly how I felt. Back from break, the announcers hype Sasha Banks versus Asuka for next week. The title can be decided by either pinfall, submission, or DQ, or outside interference and countdown. And then we get the unsanctioned match between Randy Orton and The Big Show. I'm not going to spoil you with the details. This match was terrible. During the beginning, early portions of this match, Angel Garza and Andrade came out to attack The Big Show. And then the Viking Raiders came out and attacked them. So, okay. Are we going? I guarantee you, either next week or the week after that, we're going to get Angel Garza and Andrade versus the Viking Raiders in a number one contenders match for the tag team championships at SummerSlam. That is it, because these are the only 3 teams that you have. Until they get another team, until they get another 3 or 4 teams that actually have a chance in the tag team division, it's time to deactivate the tag team titles because they don't give a shit about them anyway. But Show gets some moves in. Orton gets some moves in. Show goes for the KO punch. He ends up going through a table early on. Show goes for a second rope bear bomb, but Orton moves out of the way. He crashes through a table. Orton looks on and smiles as he's laughing. He hits an RKO. He hits another RKO after that, like later on. 1, 2, 3. He gets the win. After the match, he stands tall. He stalks Big Show. And then, and only then, does he back up and hit the punt kick, knocking the Big Show clean out and telling him, I told you. I told you. And Big Show lays there, not moving. Is it a thing that you're supposed to get when you get punked in the head that you have to not move? Like you have to act like you just got killed in the middle of the ring? It looks kind of fucking stupid. But this was the Monday Night Raw after Extreme Rules and on our way to SummerSlam. Which, with all the connections that Vince McMahon has, I am really surprised that this guy cannot find a private beach to set up on and have SummerSlam on a beach. I just don't get it. The fact that every single month we have to have these pay-per-views in the Performance Center. I mean, hell, last night, if they would have at least decked out the Performance Center to be more horror-ish, spooky, horrified. I don't know, make a haunted house, a haunted mansion. I don't know. They could have did something else. But no, they gave us bland old pay-per-view. A bland old PC. SummerSlam is supposed to be the biggest party of the summer. Make it a beach party. Pay the fucking people in Florida, section off a good section of the beach and have it be on a beach. Make it so that people, if they want to, can show up at a price, of course, of like $10 if they have it. And you could have legitimate fans outside. And you could have them adhere to social distancing. I don't care. Do something than having it in the PC. WWE needs to do something because this is just getting boring as fuck. SmackDown, Raw are boring. NXT is getting down that way too. NXT is under the command completely of Vince McMahon. So, yeah, this company, I know why they did what they did with the whole entire train wreck, and it wasn't a good idea. Just have Asuka win and have Bayley be the reason that her best friend lost. But no, you're not going to do that. You're just going to do this. This show just... But that is your Monday Night Raw review. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video. Find me on Twitter at The Franz Club. Find me on twitch.tv/The Franz Club. Find me on Instagram at The Franz Club. And I will see you guys Wednesday for the next installment of AEW on TNT. The first time since June that it's not going to be a special themed event. But until then, my name is The Franz, and I'll see you guys later. Peace!